Hello, and welcome to a new edition of the Coastal Magic Concast podcast. Each edition is a compilation of 5 daily features from my book blog wrapped into one fantastic author chat. You're seeing the video of this conversation during our 2022 virtual convention, and the audio version will magically become a podcast sometime in the future. I'm so happy to get to meet this author for the first time. From her official bio, USA Today best-selling author Tif Marcelo is a veteran U.S. Army nurse and holds a BS in nursing and a master's in public administration. She believes and writes about the strength of families, the endurance of friendship, heartfelt romances, and is inspired daily by her military husband and 4 children. So yay! Thank you for chatting with me.
Thank you so much for
being
having
part
me.
Of Coastal Magic, even the virtual version of it.
Yeah, I'm just so glad to be here, and I'm like so happy to be able to take part, even if it is virtual. Although I'll miss you all. Yeah, but there will be a time
next year.
I have faith. Yeah.
Me too. We're all just shifting all of our focus to next year, next February. We're gonna do this thing. Yeah. We're gonna do it.
I cannot wait. Let me tell you.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so let's get started. Like I told you when we were chatting earlier, I have basically stolen from myself. I've taken the features from my book blog that I love, and we're gonna kind of mush them all together into one conversation here. And those 5 parts kind of go along with the day of the week. So let's start off with Words of Music Monday. And that's a way for us to talk about music because I love music. So if you have music that you listen to while you write, if your characters have theme songs, if you have a book playlist, any of that applies to you, I would love to hear about it. If it doesn't, then you can just let us know about any kind of music that you like in general.
Yeah, so I love to listen to music when I write. I do have to, like, if I'm in the thick of writing or if I'm thick of editing. So there's a difference between writing or drafting and editing.
Right.
So when I'm drafting, I could literally have any kind of music on.
Okay.
And so as long as it's nice and upbeat, or it kind of feels like the book.
Okay.
We have a record player, and we go to we thrift a lot for
fun.
records. Yeah, that's cool. Just my husband, especially. That's his thing. He just likes to look for records. So I usually like to play like old school music. The songs I listened to when I was in high school and college. And
that's fun.
Yeah. So, I can listen to like the Dirty Dancing soundtrack, right? Or the Forrest Gump soundtrack.
There you go.
I love that. And so I can draft to it. Now, when I edit, though, I like to listen to music with no words.
Gotcha.
So that's when I go into my iPad and I go to my Apple playlist and I just look for, I usually look up like contemporary music, orchestra, contemporary music. So
gotcha.
It's recent songs, but played by
just the instrumental versions.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, but I always try to look for a connection or just a feeling, but I don't really have any like major playlists.
So no song that you've heard and we're like, oh, that is so and so song. Nothing like that.
No.
Do you have to?
I don't know.
For different books. Do you have to listen to different music for different books?
I do. So like for It Takes Heart, I listened to that's Brandon's story, Brandon in Geneva. And I listened to the Top Gun soundtrack with that one.
Ooh, that's cool.
I know. I don't know why. I think it's just maybe Brandon reminds me of Tom Cruise in that.
There is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So, and then like The Holiday Switch is the book that came out. It's my young adult that came out in October or November. I listened to the soundtrack of The Holiday. So
nice.
So it's like I do pick one every once in a while, but it's not all the time.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. And so do you listen to the same stuff when you're not writing, or is that pretty much what you like all the time?
Because I'm writing all the time, I feel like I'm always listening to music. But when I do dishes or when I do chores, I'm usually listening to audiobooks.
Oh, so there you go.
That's how I catch up with some of my reading.
Nice. Very cool. Excellent. Well, we'll talk about your reading later.
Yes.
For now, we're going to switch from Monday to Tuesday. So for Tuesday, we're doing a 10 thing Tuesday. So that's basically a list of 10 things about anything. It could be about you or about your books, whatever. So what 10 things are you sharing with us today?
So I this was so easy. I was like 10 things that are around me when I'm writing.
Excellent.
When I'm working. So it was very easy for me to kick out. I didn't realize that I was so high maintenance that I needed to have all these, like here I am thinking, oh, I can just take my computer and I can go anywhere and I can write. But no, because when I look around, there are reliably 10 things. So I always have a hot drink like coffee or tea. I always have a cold drink like water or like a sparkling soda.
Okay.
I always have something crunchy.
Okay.
It could be anything from popcorn. My favorite are hot Cheetos. That's my favorite. My phone is always next to me because I do my Pomodoro timer on it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm always like on a schedule.
So what is a Pomodoro timer?
Okay, so I do this thing called the Pomodoro, which is like a way to manage your time where you do something in a like 20 or 25 minute block of time. And then you break for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes and you do another 25-minute block of time. So that's how I've been working all this time.
Very cool.
And it encourages me to stand up and after, a half hour. So I need my phone for that. And then it tracks how many times I work throughout so it's kind of like a little game that I play with myself.
That's
like
fantastic.
How many can I do? And then there's of course the music, whatever music I'm listening to. I always have a blankie. It's just, something I like thin fleece blankets. And I have the story notebook that I am always writing in.
Right.
My favorite pen, which is currently my very, very first fountain pen. My girlfriend gave me one of my girlfriends gave me a fountain pen for Christmas, and I've never owned a fountain pen. And I wrote in it and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have no hand strain when I'm working with a fountain pen. Maybe it's in my mind, but anyway. And then of my planner, which is necessary, and then my scrunchie, because I like to actually work with my hair back.
Interesting.
Off my face. Yeah. I don't like my hair down at all when I'm working. So even though I've blow dried let's say during the day, even though I blow dry, I still put it back.
Yeah. I wonder why that is. That's so interesting to me.
Yeah. I always have to have my hair up.
My question is, you have a hot drink and a cold drink and the fired Cheetos. I wonder how those three things go together.
Yeah, it's a mess. It is really a mess because even when I eat popcorn, let's say I pop some popcorn, I put hot sauce on it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It is
that is a strange combination of flavors.
Yeah. So it's movie popcorn, like like Orville Redenbacher, like movie popcorn, which means there's a lot of butter.
I was going to say that's drowned in butter.
Yeah, and then I put hot sauce on it, and it sizzles like when it comes out of the microwave. It's it's little things. Like I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's so great.
So popcorn, hot sauce and coffee doesn't really work that
well.
But I still love it.
I mean, obviously it's working for you. I mean, clearly. But it's so interesting that combination of things is what fuels the imagination, I like it.
I guess it keeps me awake, I guess.
Apparently. So you'd have to rotate through them, I guess, because otherwise your mouth would just be like, what in the world is happening?
Yeah. I have a lot of like different crunchy things. And like whenever I'm on deadline, I just let my husband likes to go to the grocery store, which is great. Because it keeps me from going to the grocery store.
Absolutely.
And I just tell him, I'm on deadline, and he knows exactly what to get. He just picks up.
Oh, such a good hobby.
It's very, very sweet. And my girls too, like my kids, they just know what to get. Like anything crunchy, like super duper crunchy, they'll pick up.
Nice. Very cool. Well, that's fun. At least and now you've identified those things and you have a conscious effort about them. That's fantastic.
I know. I like, it's so funny because I've never had to list these things before. So
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, I
And
do
that's
need
not
all
too
these
bad. I
things.
wouldn't call that high maintenance. I wouldn't call that high. Now, if you decided you just wanted to go sit out on the porch because it's a nice day, then you might have some problems.
That's right. That's the thing. Like I usually work in the same place
Mhm.
or on the couch, but I have like a table nearby. And
Right.
I guess I must put everything nearby, but maybe
Yes.
that's the reason why I don't usually go to like when the world was still open. I wasn't
Mhm.
going to coffee shops. I think it's because
Right.
I like putting everything in its place on my
You have
desk.
your space. Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting. Look at us getting all introspective
I
and
know.
stuff. I love it.
And then the blanket, like I just have to say that my blanket is like it's really security blanket. I have like 6 or 7 that,
Oh.
and it just has to be the right like weight, like not very heavy. And then
Mhm.
when I'm really in deep deadline, like I'll put it over my head. And like so my
Interesting.
like my family always makes
You
fun of me. And one
cocoon
time
yourself.
yeah, one time I went to a retreat like with other writers and I didn't have my blanket with me, but I brought a scarf as like the replacement. And I did not realize that I did that. Like I guess you know, it
Mhm.
was just a natural thing, but I was
Right.
finally out in public and then I put it over my head, as we were writing in the morning and they're like, "Tiffany, why are you sitting there with the blanket with your scarf over your head?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Did you tell them it is private time? You
yeah."
need
I
your
mean,
space?
I did it, the things that you figure out from people when you have to spend a weekend
Mhm.
with them. I'm like, oh, I guess it was after that I truly realized how
Yeah.
much I love my blankets.
You know what? There is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. And like I said, clearly it's working for you. So,
More
you
blankets.
if you need what you're doing is you're trapping in all of
That's
that
right.
special juju into one little space.
That's right. That's
I
right.
like it. Good stuff. Alrighty, so we're going to move to Wednesday, which is WWW Wednesday. So this is a chance to talk about something that you saw online that sparked your attention, gave you an idea, taught you something, made you laugh, just
Yeah.
maybe gave you a story idea, something like that. So what have you seen online in the interwebs recently that caught your attention?
Well, it was actually a podcast that I was listening to the other
Cool.
day, and I forget the name of the podcast. But like when you're a creative, you're always trying to find ways to like get inspired.
Hmm.
So I try to look for whatever I'm yearning that day. So
Uh-huh.
I wanted to like kind of increase my motivation that day. So I was just looking up in the search terms on Apple Podcasts, like
Hmm.
motivations and intentions and all this stuff. So this is a little bit woo woo. I don't know who is woo woo and who's not out there, but I'm not totally woo, but I am also, I think, part of being a creative. You
Yeah.
have to believe that there's,
Yeah,
something,
absolutely.
right? That's
Inspiration. Yeah.
inspiration that's just coming. So it's something about your intentions and how, let's say you want to achieve something. And a lot of the times when we want something, we say it or we write it down. But
Hmm.
this podcast suggested that when you want something, you have to sit there and think about how you would feel when you already have it. So
Interesting.
let's say, if you want to write your first book, it's not
Hmm.
just, oh, I want to write my first book. It's
Right.
about visualizing the book already done and you're holding it in your hand and you're reading the words on the page.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was really neat
That's
because
an interesting thought.
it's actually super hard,
Really?
because the next day I was like, okay, let me try this. So
Hmm.
I was thinking, okay, I want to be able to hopefully sell this next book, right?
Hmm.
And then and so I was like, what do I think of? And I envisioned myself like getting a phone call from my agent saying,
Hmm.
so and so loved your story and would like to buy this book. And but it was hard to I didn't realize I had to be creative in
Yeah.
creating that
It's
world.
forcing you to believe. It's
Yeah.
forcing you to believe that it can happen so much so that you can feel it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I had never looked at it that way before. And I'm a big goal setter. So like part of I do quarterly goals, monthly goals, weekly goals. So, so I'm not like foreign to that kind of concept of, moving forward and setting intentions, but I had never, ever looked at it in a way that I already have it. And apparently if you look at it that way, then everything that you get that's close to it, you're very thankful because it feels like
cool.
it feels like it's all part of the steps to get there. So I was like, well, that's good too, because it kind of loops in like gratitude and being thankful for what we have already. Right. So I thought that was so neat. And so I've been like thinking about that for days now. Like, okay, I think that's kind of neat that you can imagine yourself with whatever you're hoping.
And
then
it
whatever
recognizes the steps along the way. It's not that you haven't succeeded because you haven't sold the book yet. Every step you make towards that process is a success.
That's right.
And so a lot of times it gets forgotten in the process.
That's right.
Because it seems so tedious.
Yeah. And because the goal is, it's just about setting goals, and it's not really envisioning the joy that you'd have once you've gotten it. So it was a great way to look at.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, between the time that we record this and we air it, we will figure out what the name of that podcast is. And that way, when we post it during the convention, I'll make sure that we put a link for the podcast on there.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. I'll put it on my notes. Yeah, I thought it was neat. And I'm like, oh, that's a great way to look at it. And it does help because you're like, okay, I can see this happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes you believe. That is super cool. I love it.
I know. I'm always like teetering on like woo woo, non woo woo, because I'm very logical, but I'm also like a creative. So it's like But I think it's wherever you can get the inspiration and the drive.
Everything works
I think
together.
is important. That's right.
Yeah. Very cool. I love that. I'm so excited. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely have to find that because now I would like to check that out. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Okay. So we're moving from Wednesday to Thursday. So Thursday is review day. So what books have you read recently that you really loved, or what is on your TBR pile if you haven't gotten anything read recently?
So I just finished listening to Colleen Hoover's Reminders of Him.
Nice.
And, Colleen Hoover just always hits it out of the park. In addition, because I listen to a lot of my books because it's easier on my eyes.
Gotcha.
And they always pick the right narrators for her books. I feel like every time I listen to her books, like they seem to find the right fit. So the person is really emotive and it makes a huge difference, right?
Huge difference. Absolutely.
The correct narrator for the story.
Yeah.
So it was excellent. I think I cried like 4 times.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, she has a tendency to do that to you though.
Yeah, because it's like she pulls you all the way in, like all the way into the emotion. And I was at some point, like I even stopped it to really evaluate it as a fellow like author. And I'm like, she pulled me all the way in. So she keeps you going. And it was such a good lesson because sometimes I think I talk too much in my books, but I'm wondering if there are certain parts that you can talk more about to keep you in lock.
Keep you
know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. To grab a hold and not let go.
Yeah. I think she just knows that how much to kind of rein you in before she lets go of the chapter.
Right.
So I thought that the pacing of that, it was such a lesson in the pacing because that's what she's so good at. She's so good at just bringing you in.
She's so good at so many things. She's pretty incredible. And she's such a nice lady.
And she has such a seemingly a great attitude. Do you know what I mean? Like
I agree.
And it's just something to learn from, as and she's done so much.
Right.
In addition, right, with her book boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so Reminders of Him was so good to listen to. The narrators were thumbs up. I put it on like
Fantastic.
1.4 or no 1.3. So it
Gotcha.
was really good.
Cool.
And then I read Digging Up Love by Chandra Blumberg.
I have not heard of that one.
So this is a Montlake book. So
Okay.
she's a fellow Montlake author, and it is low heat,
Okay.
and low angst.
That's
and
my kind of story right there.
and it is with a paleontologist and a baker, and it's small town romance. So it was so fun.
What was
you
it
know
called
what I mean? It's called Digging Up Love. So it was just right. Do you know what I mean?
Fantastic.
I love it when I know what I'm getting into, you know what I mean? So it was great because I had both Colleen Hoover in my ears, and then I had this great book, this low heat, low angst book in my hand.
That's
and it was
fantastic.
just it was a nice balance. And it's the basic premise is that it turns out that there's dinosaur bones in the heroine's grandmother's backyard. And so the paleontologist comes
Oh
to
my
dig up these
word.
bones. Yeah. And then that's how they meet. So
That's
there's
fantastic.
it was great because the humor was right there also. So
Fantastic. And who was the author again?
Chandra Blumberg.
Nice.
And this is her debut. So
Cool.
yeah, so great. It's so awesome because
Yeah.
there's
Sounds
more.
like she started off good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Excellent. Oh, that's so cool. I will
Yeah.
definitely have to check that out. That sounds
Yeah.
exactly like my style right now.
Yeah.
So
isn't that interesting how like it has to, certain books come in certain phases.
Yeah.
And I feel like the ones in my ears can be a little bit more serious and a little bit more like dark, I guess. But I just
intense.
prefer, intense. And I would prefer to read a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
So.
I'm going through a much more light phase in my reading these days. I'm very much a fan of the small town romances and the cozy mysteries and that kind of thing. I've been into magical realism for quite a few years now, and that has a tendency to be a little bit on the lighter side. So I'm feeling that one, and definitely gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah. And then I have on the side, like coming up, I have Mia Sosa's The Wedding Crasher that I'm just dying to read.
Very
and then
cool.
American Royalty by Tracy Livesey.
Okay.
Which is her trade paperback that's coming out in June.
Nice.
And then I have Mia Manansala's Homicide in Hollow Hollow that I am.
That's her second, right? That's her second book. Yeah. I have her first book on my bookshelf. I haven't read it yet, but I've got it. It's on my one of these days I will get this book read.
Can her book, that book, and In a Book Club Far Away came out around the same time, and it's been a year. I was just shocked at how that time has just flown.
It feels like it's taken 87 years and also a month. How is it possible that is a thing? I don't understand.
Oh my gosh. But but so many good books are out.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just it's so cool to have so much to read.
So many options. Doesn't matter what you're in the mood for. There's somebody that's writing a book for you that is going to be exactly what you want right then.
Yeah.
I love it.
Kate Canterbury, have you ever read any of her books?
I have not. What does she write?
So she is also contemporary romance, but she's indie. And so I've been listening to her, and they're a little bit more intense. They're so good though. It's like catnip stuff. It's like just, and the narrators really make a huge difference. So
very cool.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody's going to have to increase their TBR pile by like 6 books now. So that's always a good thing. We are all about TBR piles and getting stuff done around here.
Oh my goodness. It's just so much. And I keep going to, like, if I go to Barnes and Noble, I'm like, ooh. And I'm just like, this is the books in my shelf are going to be jealous.
Yep. But they'll all be friends. They'll get to know each other. They'll be friends. It'll be great. It'll be great. I get the newsletter from Barnes and Noble, and I'm like, I need every one of these things.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I'm totally right there with you. Speaking of adding to TBR piles, we moved from Thursday to Friday, and the Friday is an author
Yeah.
chat where you get to tell us what's happening with you these
Yeah.
days. So, what are you writing? What's coming out soon? What's coming out late? What appearances are you making? What is happening in Tif world?
Yeah, I mean, it is another exciting year. Last year was an exciting year for me
Mhm.
because I published 3 books in 3 different categories last year, which was a
Yeah, you
little
had
bit
a lot.
wild, a little wild, a
Mhm.
little bit more stable this year, but still 2.5 releases. So Know You by Heart is the second book in the Heart Resort series from
Gotcha.
Montlake Publishing, and that's Amazon, and that's coming out in April.
Okay.
And then in May, I'm part of this great anthology with 18 other authors. It's called Something
Wow.
Blue.
That
So
sounds
it's
interesting.
yeah, and it's the same set of authors that we published Christmas, actually, not last Christmas, but the Christmas
I
before.
remember those. Yeah, those were some
Yeah.
fun stories.
Yeah, so these are more on the low heat and closed door.
Okay.
So it's definitely it's not a high heat
Hmm.
anthology, and it is all wedding based. So
That's
it's called
fun.
Something Blue.
That's
That's coming
fun.
out in May.
Very
And
cute.
then in July, crossing our fingers, there's a Polycon,
Hmm.
and then there's Book Bonanza.
Hmm.
Crossing our fingers. And then in September, I have Lucky Streak coming out, and
Right.
it is also in the Heart Resort world,
Hmm.
but it is a standalone. And it's interesting how that's happening, but so it's a standalone, but it is a Heart Resort book, and with it's going to have a different cover concept,
Hmm.
and I'm so excited. I can't really say yet whose book it is for those who have read
Yeah.
the Heart Resort series, but it should be super duper fun.
I was gonna say, it's too early for spoilers on that?
Yeah, it's too early. It's too
Yeah,
early.
I have my opinions about the standalone in a world thing. I that is a thing that is a conversation for another time. However,
It is a
however,
more common thing that's happening
it
now.
is
Do
it
you
is
notice?
everywhere,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
over the place.
yeah.
It seems like every other book that I hear about is a standalone in a series somewhere. So, like I said, conversation for another time. However, I'm very excited that you are expanding
Yes.
into that section of things. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
excited to hear who it's going to be about.
I know. I'm excited. I can't say anything, but in May or spring of 2023,
Mm-hmm.
I circle back to contemporary fiction,
Nice.
and it is a Little Women reimagining from Marmy's point of view,
Ooh,
from Mom's point of view.
very
So there's going to be a
cool.
little bit of woo woo in there, something that you might like. But it's definitely contemporary fiction. So it's definitely like, if you can imagine Marmy and what wish she could possibly have, in the story of Little Women, she
I
had,
have a big giant excite.
yeah. So this is about her one wish.
Very
And
cool.
so
I'm
there's
so excited.
it's a hard book because it's written differently,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I'm really
That's
excited,
fun though.
yeah, to be able to, after the 3 books of romance, to do another
Mm-hmm.
contemporary fiction, and to do it about Marmy, which, I
We
feel like,
don't.
yeah,
No, I was gonna say we usually hear from the sisters. We don't usually hear from mom.
yeah, yeah. And I think that, reading Little Women all of my life, and watching the movies, we've always I've always associated myself as the girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's no longer. So it really does change perspective. So I've wanted to write this book for a long time, and I'm just lucky that my editor said, let's do it, So I was
Yay!
like, yes.
It's nice when
So
it all comes together.
yeah, it really is.
Very cool. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so much
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
And I love that there's gonna be woo-woo.
I know it's gonna be a little woo,
I'm
because
the
I'm
same.
already a little woo-woo-ish, like not
Mhm,
totally there. And so I kind of can get to exercise it a little bit. And
mhm.
yeah. and kind of explore
I'm a
other
fan
things.
of woo-woo.
It's so different from saying like paranormal, because paranormal is different, right? Like woo is just a little bit different.
It is different. It is very different.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm so excited. Okay, so where can people find out about what you are doing? I assume you have website and social media. So where can people find you?
Yeah, so it's tifmarcelo.com. But if I was to pick like a social media outlet, I would say Instagram is probably where I update first.
Okay,
so
cool.
Yeah, I hope to see you all there.
Nice. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And so if we want to find out like who the main character of the next standalone is going to be, then that's where we should be looking, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. Fantastic. All right, my dear.
I know. Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much for having me.
I am so happy that you did it. And I'm sorry that we're not meeting in person, but it was very, very lovely to chat with you. And I'm very excited to see you, hopefully in person for Coastal Magic 2023.
I cannot wait. I'll be there.
Woohoo! Yay! All right, my dear. Thank you so much.